Appreciate your standing, give me the opportunity to speak today on a matter of extremely urgent national interest. On my way to work today, I stumbled upon a protest, one of many across the country. People are not happy. They're expressing their dissatisfaction with the level of hardship.
Can you please go straight to your motion as a practice, as a tradition of the Senate?
Alleged incidences of corruption and inefficiency at the Ajaokuta Steel Company Limited and the National Iron Ore Mining Company located in Kogi State. The Senate notes that the Ajaokuta Steel Company and the National Iron Ore Mining Company, hereinafter called NIOMCO, located in Kogi State, were established sometimes in the late 70s by the federal government with the potential to put Nigeria on the path of technological and industrial advancement and establish the country as one of the leading exporters of steel products in the world. The Senate notes also that decades after their establishment, the Ajaokuta Steel Mill and NIOMCO have remained inoperative and unable to produce steel despite seeming efforts by several administrations due to lack of earnest political will and bureaucratic corruption. The Senate recalls that as at the year 1994, when Tiajuprom Export, hereinafter called the TPE, exited the Ajaokuta Steel Plant on alleged grounds that Nigeria did not discharge fully its financial obligation to the TPE, the Ajaokuta Steel Plant was reportedly at 98% completion and yet remains inoperative till date. The Senate recalls that sometime in the year 2001, Nigeria's hope to have the Ajaokuta Steel Plant completed and put into operation was rekindled following the signing of the bilateral agreement between Nigeria and the Russia Federation, which was unfortunately diminished following the surreptitious concessioning of NIOMCO and Ajaokuta Steel Company in June 2003 to unqualified Solgas Energy Limited, a company that lacked both financial and technical expertise as it were uncovered never to be in the business of ore and steel. The Senate is aware that contrary to the recommendations of the House Committee on Steel in the year 2004, that Solgas Energy Limited should partner with TPE, which has the financial and technical expertise to complete and operate the Ajaokuta Steel Complex and NIOMCO power complexes. Solgas Energy Limited instead opted for partnership with another inept company, the Global Steel Infrastructure Nigeria Limited of India, also known as the Global Steel Holdings Limited. Now, the Global Steel Company was alleged to completely run down not only Ajaokuta Steel Company and NIOMCO, but also the Delta Steel Company. The Senate observes that upon consideration of the Inuwa-Magaji Administrative Panel of Inquiry report into the global steel operations of Ajaokuta Steel Company, NIOMCO and Delta Steel Mills, the Federal Executive Council, under the leadership of late President Umaru Yar'Adua, unanimously terminated the concession agreement on the 2nd day of April 2008, citing breach of agreement and all wholesome practices, including the fact that the said concession agreement was unpatriotically skewed in favor of the Global Infrastructure Nigeria Limited. The Senate further observes that the House of Representatives had in the past investigated the iron and steel sector in Nigeria with far-reaching resolutions aimed at resuscitating the steel complexes and NIOMCO, but such resolutions were neither ignored or are yet to be implemented by the federal government. The Senate is disturbed that the Global Steel Holding Limited, Pramod Mittal, is notorious for dubious and questionable business activities with governments of many steel-producing countries, from the $253 million organized economic crimes in India to embezzlement and steel stripping in Bulgaria, the Philippines, Libya, Bosnia, Zimbabwe, Montenegro, Serbia, and many more. The Senate is concerned that while Bosnia arrested and charged the Global Steel Holding Limited's Pramod Mittal with organized crime, and Bulgaria jailed Global Steel Holding Limited management staff for economic crimes, Nigeria may have yet again fallen victim to the Global Infrastructure Nigeria Limited Pramod's sharp contract fraud in respect of the payout of $496 million in the year 2022. This comes years after a comical reconcession of NIOMCO to the same Global Infrastructure Nigeria Limited in August 2016. These activities, sadly, facilitated by unpatriotic Nigerians occupying trusted government offices. The Senate is alarmed that Nigeria currently spends about $3.3 billion annually on steel imports, and quite saddened that the nation blessed with abundant natural ore resources, yet plagued with moribund Ajaokuta and Delta Steel, have become conduit pipes for diversion of public funds at the expense of Nigerian taxpayers. The Senate is worried that there exists an abnormal management structure at the Ajaokuta Steel complex whereby a sole administrator has unilaterally decided upon the steel mill's corporate affairs for the past 12 years. This has further worsened the inefficiency of the moribund company with the recently queried 33 billion naira electricity debt by President Tinubu. The Senate accordingly resolves to 1. Set up an ad hoc committee. 2. Investigate the affairs of the Ajaokuta Steel Company and the National Ore Mining Company, NIOMCO, in Kogi State between the year 2008 to date, with a view to conducting a holistic investigation into the circumstances that led to the reconcession of NIOMCO, even when the initial concession agreement was validly terminated by the Yar'Adua administration with positive view by the International Chamber of Commerce, London, and investigate the payment of $496 million allegedly made to Mr. Pramod Mittal, chairman of Global Infrastructure Holdings Limited, by the federal government in September 2022. Our settlement over the said contractual dispute, and to report back to the Senate in 2 weeks. The Senate accordingly resolves to invite and interface with the relevant ministries, departments, and agencies and other critical stakeholders in the steel sector, especially those with interest in Ajaokuta Steel Manufacturing Plant and NIOMCO, to obtain relevant information and submit a comprehensive report to the Senate regarding the affairs of the two plants between the years from 2008 till date. From 2008 till date. Number 2, that's prayer 2. Urge the federal government to review extant policies and laws on steel development in Nigeria with a view to adopt a strategic implementation plan on steel development in Nigeria, bearing in mind the importance of steel to Nigeria's quest for industrialization and economic self-reliance. Prayer 3. Also urge the federal government to dissolve forthwith the sole administratorship of Ajaokuta Steel Company, and as a matter of urgency, constitute a proper management and governing board for the company. This should comprise of, but not be limited to, a managing director, director of projects, director of finance, director of corporate services, with representation from professional bodies such as the Society of Engineers, the Nigerian Metallurgical Society, and representatives from supervising ministries of finance and steel, and of course, the host community. Such a structure will promote good corporate governance, efficiency, and accountability. The federal character and expertise to be respected.